If you clicked on this video, you obviously want better FPS, but I'm not going to sit here and give you general tips like putting your graphics quality on low. I'm actually going to show you some really useful stuff for console and PC. And near the end of the video, I'm going to show you how I freed up almost 20 gigabytes of space on my PC. So make sure you watch to the end. So let's not waste any time. Let's hop into tip number one. All right, so first things first, we're going to go into our settings. So really quick, I am going to run through all these video settings, but console players, listen up. When you go to your video tab on console, you will have a setting called motion blur. Make sure you turn that off. And for my PC guys, make sure you're playing on full screen, 1920 by 1080. My frame rate says it's capped at 60 FPS, but it's actually not. I'm going to explain that in the middle of the video. I'll scroll down a bit. Make sure you have view distance on near. And for textures, make sure you have this on medium. What this does is it makes your GPU work a little bit harder. And since Fortnite is a CPU intensive game, turning up your graphics quality to make your GPU work a little harder can actually benefit you by increasing FPS. Download high resolution textures. Make sure you have this off. And this is just the reminders. You can turn that off or on. That doesn't matter. And meshes, make sure you have on low. Now, coming down to VSync, it is a setting that tries to eliminate screen tearing, but you don't need this on because most modern monitors already have an anti-screen tearing system. It's either called FreeSync or G-Sync. So definitely make sure this is off. This will give you so much less input delay. Now, the last setting in the video tab is rendering mode. This is probably the most important setting if you want to actually increase your FPS. Now, moving right into the game settings, make sure you just scroll down and turn replays all the way off. I know a lot of people already know this, but I did want to put it out there. Now come over to the game UI tab and scroll down. Make sure you just turn runtime performance stats off. This will help boost your FPS just a little bit in creative. Now, this next tip is for keyboard and mouse and controller players. So make sure you come to the controller tab and you scroll all the way down and come to this setting right here. This really affects your input delay on controller and for keyboard as well. For whatever reason, some people actually like to have this on because it makes their game feel different. But the reason why your game does feel different is because it gives you input delay. So just make sure you have it off. All right, so next we're going to go into our audio tab. So come right here to sound quality and turn this on low. What this does is it makes the footsteps sound a little bit different and it changes the pump shotgun sound. So I do recommend putting this on low. Now also come to the subtitles options right here and make sure you set all of these to the left. Now this tip is for my controller players. So really quick, come over to your controller options and make sure you have switch mode /edit bound to your controller. And what it does is it gets rid of an edit delay for controller, especially if you're on console. And some people do get confused about this. This is my regular switch mode bind right here. And also the A button is my edit. So I never actually press this button. It's just here to remove input delay. Next for my console guys, make sure you are playing the game with a wired controller. Now also, if you are using your console on a TV, I recommend you get a monitor. Most TVs are not made for gaming and monitors are made with really low response times that makes the game feel much better. So if you can, I recommend picking one up. But alrighty, so that wraps it up for the console tips. But listen, if you're on console and you do end up watching the full video, drop a comment down below so I can give you a heart. I really do appreciate you sticking around. So now we're gonna get into the PC only tips. Alrighty guys, so hopping right into the PC tips. On your keyboard, press the Windows button and the R key at the same time, and this little window will pop up here. And what we're gonna type is %temp%, just like this. We're gonna press OK, and what that does is it brings up this temporary folder right here. And pretty much every single one of these files were a temporary file that Windows needed to complete a task. And most of the time, if you've never done this, you'll have a really big temporary file. So we are gonna be deleting all these files, but I did want to show you I haven't deleted any of my temporary files in a couple of months, and there are about 4 gigabytes worth of temporary files in here, so it'll definitely free up some space. So what we're gonna do is just select everything and go all the way down, and once you get to the bottom, we're gonna right click and delete. And it might take a second, but once that's done, there is gonna be this little message right here. And as you can see, there are still a few files in here that my PC is still using. So what we're going to do is we're going to click do this for all current items and skip. So once that's done, we're just going to exit out of this. We're going to come over to our recycle bin, right click, and we're going to empty our recycle bin. And just like that, we removed 4,200 files. All right, so the second tip starts off exactly like how the other one did. We're going to press the Windows key and the R button at the same time. And this little guy is going to open as well. And this time in this box, we're going to type %local app data %. Press OK, and this file is going to open. Now you are going to have a ton of files in here. Just scroll down until you find Fortnite game. And it's this one right here. We're going to double click. We're going to click on saved. We're going to click on config, Windows client, and then we're going to get to the game user settings. And once we get here, we're going to right click on this file, go to properties, and make sure this read only box is unticked. Now we're going to get out of that and we're going to open up the notepad. We're going to scroll down until we find our FPS counter. It's usually right below your resolution. So just find that and then come down here to frame rate limiter. So what we're going to do is we're going to subtract 3 FPS from what your monitor's refresh rate is. So if you have a 120 hertz monitor, we're going to make that 117. If you have a 140 hertz monitor, we're going to make it 141. And if you have a 240 hertz monitor, you're going to make it 237, exactly like how I do here. Pretty much what this does is it takes your FPS down by 3 frames to reduce any screen tearing at all. So pretty much what this will do is just make your game look a lot smoother. So now from here, we're going to go up to file and we're going to click save, and we can exit out of here. And now this is really important. It won't work unless you do this. Right click again on game user settings and go to properties and make sure this read only box is ticked. And once you check that off, hit apply, and then you can exit out of here and you're good. So now whenever you open open your game, you should be on the FPS that you put it at in the file. So as you can see, I'm clearly on 237 FPS. But if I go into my settings, you can obviously see it does say I'm on 60 FPS, but that's because there is no option for 237. And if you change yours as well, you should also be on 60, but you can clearly see I am on 237. Alrighty, so the next step is going to be in our Windows settings. So press the Windows button on your keyboard, go to settings, and then we're going to click right here on gaming. So the first setting right here is the Xbox game bar. Make sure you have this off. This is Microsoft's clipping software, so pretty much it's always recording in the background, and it gives you tons of input delay. If you actually do use this to get your clips, you shouldn't be. Make sure you're either using Nvidia's GeForce Experience, or if you have an AMD graphics card, make sure you're using the Radeon software. And then moving into the captures features, you can just turn on the software. Not going to be using it anyways. And moving right along to game mode. So make sure you have this on. What this is Windows pretty much optimizes your PC for gaming. If you want to know the specifics of what it does, you can click here, but make sure you just have it on. So once you have game mode on, hit the back arrow, and now we're going to go over into personalization. And then you're going to want to come down here to colors and make sure you turn transparency effects off. But it's pretty much effects for Windows that are constantly running in the background, so just make sure you have those off. So once you turn that off, now we're going to go and click the background, and we're going to go to system, and then we're going to come down here to notifications. Now, if you actually like having the notifications on, that's fine. You can leave them on, but to get the most performance on your PC, just turn it off. And once you have that off, now come back to your desktop, and we're going to do one of the most important tips of this whole entire video. So again, you're going to click the Windows button on your keyboard, and you're going to search for disk cleanup. And once you see it right here, just go ahead and open it. And now this little guy is going to pop up. So if you click this drop down, you can see how many drives you have in your PC, and you're going to want to select your C drive or whatever drive that Windows is downloaded to. And most likely it will be your C drive. As you can see, the Windows logo is up there. So that means that Windows is downloaded on our C drive. Now we're going to press OK. So after that loads up, as you can see, you're going to have this window right here. And what the majority of all these files are either temporary files or cache files. And the only box that should be unticked here is the Windows Update Cleanup. It's kind of like a Windows security measure for older updates. So you don't necessarily need them, but that is up to you. If you scroll down, you can click on any of these files and it'll tell you exactly what it's going to clean up in this file. As you can see, after we do this cleanup, it's going to free up 18.5 gigabytes of disk space on my C drive. So now we're going to go ahead and press OK and hit delete files. Now this may take a little bit of time, so you just have to be patient. And once it's done doing its thing, you should be good to go. Now, if this video did help you, go in the comments and leave 3 W's just like this. I want to see who actually watched the full video. And if you like this video, you're definitely going to enjoy the one on screen. So go ahead and click it, and I'll see you in there.